Are the Pelicans not once again one of the most confusing teams in the NBA? It literally feels like every offseason they have the same checklist. It's get a traditional point guard, find more shooting, find a stretch five, and figure out what you're going to do about the front court logjam. Figure out how you're going to, work out the Zion Ingram, problem where they just don't really seem like such a good fit together. And another offseason has come and gone, and they've solved none of those issues. Okay, they don't just not bring in a traditional point guard. They trade assets for DeJounte Murray, who is a solid point guard. He's a good point guard, but that's just not the type of guy they need. They don't need another ball dominant guy who I don't think his first instinct is to get guys involved. I don't think playmaking is his first instinct. His defense comes and goes. So that just didn't really feel like the answer. That just feels like you're adding another sort of point guard version of Zion and Ingram. Speaking of Ingram, still on the team, wasn't traded, didn't show up to a minicamp. I'm sure that's going to end so swimmingly. Like how does that situation go? Does he play out this year? Does he have to get traded? I understand trading him is easier said than done, especially when he's asking for $200 million. But I don't know. That was clearly such a situation that needs to be resolved, especially because trading Ingram then opens the door for Herb Jones to be a full-time starter alongside Zion, which I think is such a great fit. But now you're in this situation where does Herb Jones come off the bench, or Herb Jones can start because the Pelicans don't really have a center after letting Jonas Valanciunas walk in free agency. Their only center right now is Daniel Tice. Now, if you tell me they want to go with the starting lineup of DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum, Ingram, Zion, and Herb Jones and just play small ball, I'd be intrigued by that, but I don't think that's true. I think they want to have a center out there, and I'm fully, I understand that finding a stretch five is easier said than done. It's even harder to try and find a stretch five who can also protect the rim or, defend out on the perimeter. They're so rare. That's why they're so difficult to get. That's why not every team has them. But I don't know. It just feels like the Pelicans are just continuing to dig the holes that deeper that they really need to get out of. They should have maybe tried to make a play for Darius Garland. They should have, again, it's all easier said than done. I just for the third or fourth season in a row, I just feel like I don't really know what to think of the Pelicans. It's the same thing every year where it's they're really talented. They have a lot of talent, and that's the same thing when you bring in DeJounte Murray, who's a former All-Star. That's just more of the same. They have a lot of talent but does it all fit? Do the pieces make sense next to each other? What's the rotation going to look like? How is everyone going to share the ball? What's the defense going to look like? The center, they just still have all those problems. So it's the ceiling could be really high just off talent alone, especially again, and we say this every year too, if Zion is healthy and playing at the level we know he can play at, that's going to be a huge factor in their outlook out west. But it's just, it's the same thing every year where it's just they don't have a traditional point guard to set everyone up, to get everyone the ball where they need to. Zion and Ingram have to do a lot of the playmaking, and I don't think that's their number one strength or even number two strength, which is why I think you need a more traditional table setter. Wouldn't it have been so awesome if they had gone Chris Paul, brought him back to New Orleans? I just realized that, and now I've never wanted anything more in my life. I wanted the New Orleans reunion, and I think Chris Paul would have made so much sense for that team. Instead, they make a sort of swing for the fences type move and trade their assets to go not necessarily all in, but quasi all in for DeJounte Murray, who I just don't think is such a good fit. The Ingram-Zion pairing, it's still going to be a question, and I think Ingram's looming free agency is just going to loom over the entire season, and you hope he remains a professional, but him missing the minicamp obviously isn't such a great start. I don't know what their center rotation is going to look like. Maybe they make a trade. Walker Kessler has obviously been mentioned as being available from Utah, so maybe they go out and get him. There's just so many questions, and it just feels so frustrating because the Pelicans, I guess the best way I can put it is that it feels like they're just this lump of clay, and you could see within that lump of clay there could be this really beautiful finished product if they just do everything right, but they just haven't for the last few years, and they continue to not do so this offseason, and it just really makes me feel like they have such a high ceiling but also such a low floor, and they're just so confusing, and it's just so frustrating because of what how much potential this team could have if certain moves they did went better. And so I just once again, I don't really know what to think of them, and I hate it.